Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, our second webinar in the series on BEE and equity. And today we're going to be discussing the equity myth and how to use BEE to actually achieve an exit. So, my name is Brian Rainier, and I'm the MD of Fuller Capital. Wow, what a week it's been dealing with the effects of COVID-19 this first week. And I'm sure it's causing havoc with most of your businesses. But as resilient South Africans, we carry on and hope that the measures we're taking means that these effects will be contained and minimized, and we won't have quite the chaos that we're seeing around the rest of the world today. By way of introduction, Fuller Capital is the investment arm of LRMG. LRMG is a 22-year-old Black-owned business with some 300 employees. And we're a business consultancy that really helps companies perform at their peak through offering a number of services and products to support that particular journey. LRMG itself has shown some consistent growth over the last 20 years, around about 20% per annum, and is on track to list in 2025. We're seeking partnerships and investments to complement what we do and to help diversify our offerings. And at the same time, through a very synergistic acquisition strategy, being able to grow the broader group and help our investee companies. In our agenda today, I'm going to discuss some of the practical things I've experienced as an executive playing in the space of mergers and acquisitions over the last 20 years or so, and specifically looking at equity transactions and linked to that, the aspects of the growth of a company and the growth of that company's equity. And then I'll touch on how BEE has changed that landscape and yet actually presented some opportunities in the current space. So many small businesses start with the aim of the owners eventually one day selling out and hopefully using the proceeds from that as their major payday or their major pension. Sadly though, for even the 30% of businesses that survive the first 10 years, most never really manage to achieve an exit for proper value. And the owner tends to end up shutting up shop or resigning themselves to continue working until they're actually forced to stop. So reasons for this are many and varied, but most of the relevancy as far as this discussion simply goes to two or three major things. And the first is that the businesses never really grow to a size that's to be of any real attraction for an interested buyer. They tend to get to 15, 20 million in revenue and can't crack through a glass ceiling for many reasons. Secondly, the business owners fail to structure the business for a sale. And in most cases, the business is actually built around the founder, without whom the business would soon collapse. Very often, what complicates this is that a purchaser requires the owner, because of this, to stay on very often for 2 to 3 years, as well as meeting profit warranties over that period of time. And when the seller looks at this, they tend to say, well, if I'm going to have to stick around for 2 to 3 years and deliver profit warranties, I may as well just keep the business for another 2 or 3 years. And if that's the kind of multiple on which the business is being paid, so the deal just gets being postponed ad infinitum. And whilst the business owner continues to earn a living, they never really realize any of the equity value in the business. And that's the crux of the equity myth that I'm talking to. One of the ways of avoiding the above issues is to take a planned long-term view to the exit and to plan for it and to engage with a preferred strategic equity partner early in the process to achieve this. South Africa has some additional business challenges in that to be a successful medium-sized player nowadays, most businesses, again in that region, the moment you go over 10 million rand, you're now compelled to include some black ownership in your structure if you've got any real hope of showing some significant growth. So many business owners consider that to be a significant tax and a real impediment to growth. But there is an alternate view. So based on our own experience, we believe that BEE can actually be a very positive vehicle for change and equity growth, but it does require an understanding and a commitment to the future of the country. I think what one has to understand is that it's actually an economic imperative as a country that we bring as many previously disadvantaged people into economic activity and wealth ownership as soon as possible. We recognize that that's a really big challenge and achieving it is not that easy. However, if each small business did do its bit, the problem could be hugely addressed for very many people. And what we need to recognize that can really facilitate that is that the BEE procurement rules really can open up new markets and opportunities for businesses. And recognizing that it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game of winning and losing around the equity. It has to do with the multipliers of increasing value and increasing economic participation. And that ultimately will lead to improving the long-term growth prospects for the country and its citizens. So that being said, how can your business really benefit from having a BEE partner? I'd say in a nutshell, we propose that you find a partner that can help you with two things. Firstly, through the enhanced BEE ownership, they'll help you to not only protect the revenue that you have, but grow that revenue into new accounts and new markets. And secondly, and here's the holy grail, if you could find a partner that through their operational involvement can actually help you grow. And through operational involvement, I mean the kind of value activities such as introducing you into their client base, leveraging their own sales force to be able to help you, and assisting you strategically with practical support. If you can find a business that's grown itself, and been through the trials and tribulations of being a small business and has reached some sort of scale, and hopefully they can really bring some of those lessons and help you crack through that glass ceiling I was talking about earlier on. So in view of my opening discussion, another key requirement would be for this partner to be able to help you put in plan a succession plan in place within their own organizational structure so that you can exit safely and sell off the balance of your enhanced equity value in a time frame that you wish to exit, or even holding on to that equity value knowing that it's sitting with a very safe partner whose interests are aligned to yours in terms of growing the balance of the business. The ultimate being that essentially your smaller slice of a much bigger pie more than pays for the deal. So how to structure such a deal and the intricacies of valuation, etc., were covered in a previous webinar that we did. And we refer you to our website at Fuller Partners, where you'll be able to download and listen to that presentation. So I'd like to share an example with you of how that pie can really grow in a simple way. So a company, Oldco, basically does revenue of around about 20 million and at a profit after tax margin of, let's say, 10%. So they're making around about 2 million rand per year. Let's say they started some 15 years ago and they grew rapidly in the beginning, but But recently they've been battling with growth as they find it more of a challenge to find the large contracts. They've exhausted their own contact base, and now they're facing BE challenges as new accounts keep asking for their BE certificate. They're a level 5 and got no black ownership. They are happy and doing well enough on the other elements. But on top of that, some of their current clients are also putting them on notice to improve their ownership. So let's look at two scenarios. In the first, the company does nothing and tries to grow on its own without a value-adding BE partner. And in the second, they elect to sell up to 50% of their business, being that that's really where the discussion is at nowadays. It's about being a QSE or a qualifying small enterprise, which is a business whose revenues are between 10 and 50 million. And there's huge advantages for procurers from those QSEs, from businesses which are black owned. And that's typically why one is looking at the 50% level. And again, you can have a chat to us as to how you can get comfort around protection for the very important aspects of giving up 50% of your business in terms of minority protections and voting rights, etc. But coming back to our example, in scenario 1, let's assume that the company believes on its own it could still deliver 10% growth per annum over the next 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, the profit would have then grown from 2 million per year to 3 million. And the value of the business, based on a price earnings ratio, which is typically what we would use to value a business like this, would generously be at 5 in today's environment, which would make the value of the business worth about 15 million rand. In scenario 2, they sell that 50% of their business and to become black owned, and they do that on the price earnings ratio, again of 5, and they get paid 5 times the 2 million times 50%, which is 5 million. And their remaining stake is also valued at 5 million at that stage. So if we assume through an enhanced BE ownership and synergies brought into action through the active partnership, that we can get much better growth. So let's say 20% growth can be achieved, i.e. the BE partnership typically brings in another 10% per annum. Then the profit after 5 years, giving the compounding effect that takes place, will be 5 million. And the value of the business will then be 5 times 5, which is 25 million. And the old co-shareholders, 50% of that will be worth 12.5 million, which together with their original 5 million sale means that they've now achieved an equity value of 17.5 compared to scenario 1's 15 million. So you can see having a smaller slice of the bigger pie is at the very worst equivalent to what they would have got had they tried to continue on their own. So given the growth assumptions, it's certainly better to do the deal rather than not. And I think you can play around with the 10/20% scenarios in your own environment. And I don't know, given where we're at right now with coronavirus, maybe it's a 0 and a 10%, or you feel you're growing much better. So it could be a 20% and a 30% with the enhanced BE partner really helping. But I think you can get the point. It's the fact that bringing in a value-adding partner can really add relative growth potential to your current scenario. What's further attractive in scenario 2 is that within that time, you can have worked out a succession plan and corporatized the business in that time. Whereas in scenario 1, you're back where you were before, the end of 5 years. It's the same problem I outlined in the beginning. If you wanted to sell something, you'd still be stuck with having to deliver warranties if you wanted to sell the business at that time. In our own situation, with LRMG, I mentioned up front that we are looking at listing at 2025, and we've got some very serious plans to do that. And if we continue the growth rates that we've been showing ourselves over the last 5 to 10 years, we've been growing at 20%. So we would look to list on a valuation of around about R1 billion. And we'd look to offer our investee companies who still own 50% of their company, to put those into the listed vehicle, which they could do on our assumptions at a much higher price earnings ratio, almost double the 5 that I spoke about earlier on. And if we work on, say, a PE of 9, Oldco's shares would then be worth 22.5 million, to which you could add the original 5, which would give a total payout of 27.5 million, which you would then compare to scenario 1's 15 million. So there's the potential really for that slice of your pie to have almost double compared to what you would have done on your own. So in conclusion, I'd like to add that I know this sounds simple, but yes, we've been 2 years down the road with a number of our investments. It's not easy. It's not plain sailing. We're really having to find one another, but we really are doing well, and we're really exploring how to get those synergies, how to work well together. And we certainly got a lot of commitment from our investees, and we're on track to see that growth over a 5-year period. So, a very simple message today. It's about growing the size of the pie. It's about finding the right partner that can actively help you grow your business. I'd like to thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions or you'd like us to get in touch with you, please visit our website, send us an email. We'd be more than happy to do that for you. Thanks very much.